What is up, everyone? I hope y'all are doing well. My name is Ishaan and welcome to the video. Man, I went to both of my classes today. We are officially back to school from the break. There's only like 2 weeks of classes left and then there's finals. So man, the next couple weeks are literally just gonna like fucking fly. Like, it's gonna be so quick and there's still a whole lot to do. So man, looking forward for the end of the semester for sure though. But anyways, getting into the video for today. So last research video I talked about my very first research project that I ever did and how I got involved with that. So if you haven't checked that out yet, be sure to check that video out. And after I recorded that video, I thought it might be cool to kind of just go in a chronological order to really show y'all why and how I ended up in different labs from time to time. And with that said, after I finished up that first research project, my professor at that time, like, he didn't really have any other future projects for students to work on, so I couldn't continue working in his lab. And at that point I had, as you all know from my last research video, that I developed a strong interest in astronomy, so I decided to take a lot of astronomy and physics courses in the semester. And I took modern physics, intro to astrophysics, and along with one of my other professors that I connected with in the prior semester, I developed an independent study in astronomy to dig deeper into some stuff. So this was during my first semester of my sophomore year in college, and an independent study in this case was basically just a research project that I was developing over the course of one semester. And I basically dug into some stuff in the realm of astronomy and learned more about research in astronomy and what it really entails. So what was I working on? I was learning about binary systems, which is basically two bodies of masses revolving around each other. And in these binary systems there are eclipses, meaning one of the bodies comes in front of the other one and obstructs it, which causes a dim in the brightness of that background object. And this is something that we can track, this is something we can study with telescopes, and we can do a whole lot with the images that we get from the telescopes to come up with a bunch of data and learn more about the binary systems. So at first I was using past data to develop a light curve, and then I put my skills into practice because I had to observe another binary system and produce its light curve. And the way I started off was using the aperture photometry tool, which was used to identify reference stars around the binary system of interest. And for an analogy, think of it where you're trying to identify landmarks in order to describe a particular and specific location. And that's exactly what I was doing in the aperture photometry tool, where my reference stars were like the landmarks that helped me pinpoint and identify exactly what coordinates the binary system is located on the celestial map. And after we had that, the next step was to figure out the eclipse time and when it would occur. And when those preliminary details were sorted, I used a remote telescope in Australia to take the images of the eclipse. Now, putting this in brief sentences makes it sound like it was such an easy and smooth process, but man, let me tell you, like, just even finding like that good binary system which had like a nice eclipse time that we could actually like take measurements of, and then lining that up exactly with like the available telescope times, like, man, it was a big hassle. And all of this, like, it took almost 3 weeks to like just prepare. But after we got that done, you know, we took the images with the remote telescope, we processed the images, and we deduced the numerical magnitude of the brightness for the eclipse system. And using some basic coding in Python, I developed a graph for the light curve for the binary system. So why does this type of research matter? By observing the eclipse and producing a light curve, we're basically recording large-scale events that are happening in the distant star system. Along with that, the measurements that we get from the images are pretty preliminary and they're pretty basic, but just from these basic measurements we can come up with a bunch of different things to learn more about the binary system. Like, we can figure out the orbital period, which is how long it takes for them to complete one revolution around each other. We can figure out the masses of the objects. We can We can also figure out a whole lot of other stuff that I would be able to tell you if I actually continued to study astronomy and astrophysics extensively. Overall, this project wasn't the most complex thing in the world, but it had a very steep learning curve for me because I had very minimal experience with coding in Python before this. I had never used remote telescopes before. I didn't know like how to use the proper filters, how to find that perfect time to take the images. I never used a celestial map before this to like track stars with their coordinates, and I didn't even know how to use the basic software that we use to open up the images before this. So needless to say, that shit had a big learning curve for me, and there were a lot of times in the semester where I just wanted to give up. I could have dropped that independent study since it was extra anyways, and it was rough times. It was really rough times, but I continued to push through, continued to persevere, learn along the way, tried my best to pick up anything that I could through YouTube, through help from tutoring, through help from older folks who had been involved in astrophysics, and I'm really proud and glad to say that by the end of the semester I was actually able to produce something that attested to my learning and my growth. By the end of this project, I realized that strictly astronomy or astrophysics research without any applied biology or chemistry was something that didn't interest me, and that wasn't something that I was passionate about. And that's why I knew that I needed to and wanted to change my trajectory up. And following that semester, so during my second semester of my sophomore year, I decided to take the multidisciplinary course astrobiology, and I even ended up joining the biology research lab at my school. But more on that in the next research video, so definitely stay tuned for that. And anyways, that is all I got for this video. If you made it this far into it, I just want to say I appreciate you so much and thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far and you enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to leave a like, because it is definitely going to help the channel out. And if you're new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications, because I release at least 2 new videos every single week, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one.